It's time for Fridays with AI, where we ask AI to rewrite Philly sports history. Every Friday, only on This Day in Philly Sports History.
That's right. I told you, you never know when AI is going to show up. It is time for Fridays with AI. And honestly, there's only one way I could go with this. I was torn between this and a Flyers one, but Phillies Blue Jays this weekend. It's the anniversary of the first interleague game the Phillies ever played, which happened to be against the Blue Jays. So why not go tear off the Band-Aid and go ask AI the important questions, even though Joe Carter ruined our childhoods. What if Joe Carter didn't hit that home run in Game 6? And AI, this was probably one of the most, it took forever for AI to come up with the answer for this because I think AI is a Philly fan and had PTSD as well. But for the most part, Game 6 plays out exactly the same way. Joe Carter comes up, and instead of hitting a home run, he just misses and has a long fly out to left field. I've seen Joe Carter talk about it. I've seen Mitch Williams talk about it. It's basically what happened is Joe Carter guessed. He guessed right, and that's why he hit the home run. But what if he missed it? And AI says, all right, let's assume he misses it, and it's just a long fly out to center field. That's 2 outs now. So if you look, there's still 2 on, but if you look at the Blue Jays lineup, they had pinch ran for John Olerud earlier. So it would be a pinch hitter coming up. Mitch Williams stays in the game, induces a ground out to second base, ending the game. Phillies tied up 3-3, force a Game 7, which would be the next night. So after the game, Fergozzi says everyone is available, including Curt Schilling, who pitched a complete game in Game 5, threw over 100 pitches and was just dominant. Fergozzi said, look, everybody and everything is on the table for this game. So Game 7 starts off with Lenny Dykstra hitting a home run in his first at-bat, something he did a lot that entire playoff series throughout that whole 93 season. And then as far as the pitching staff, Fergozzi starts with Danny Jackson, goes to Tommy Green, David West, Roger Mason, Larry Anderson, Bobby Thigpen. They all pitch in this game. Everybody gets an inning or a little bit over an inning. We go through 7 innings. All those pitchers were used. So that leaves only really 2 guys that, other than your starters, left. But the score is tied 2-2 after 6. Lenny Dykstra hits a 3-run homer to break the game open in the top of the 7th, his second of the game. Phillies lead it 5-2. Curt Schilling comes in for the bottom of the 7th. Bottom of the 7th. Leads him in for the 8th. Blue Jays get a run. Phillies get a run. So it's now 6-3. And 9th inning comes. Curt Schilling comes out again. His arm's probably ready to fall off, but we know what Curt Schilling does in the postseason. Remember the bloody sock and all of that. Gets the first 2 batters out quickly, gets into a little bit of trouble, and the only guy left on the roster to come in is Mitch Williams. Mitch is able to pitch out of the jam. Phillies win 6-3, winning the World Series in 1993. It took everybody in this game, but Lenny Dykstra, with the 2 home runs, wins the MVP of the World Series. And obviously, this team is already one of the most beloved teams in Philly sports history. They become unequivocally, hands down, the most lovable and favorite team in Philly sports history to this day due to winning this World Series. So obviously that is a very realistic scenario, the way that game played out. But what does it mean for the Phillies' future and the rest of Philadelphia? It does sort of change the way that ownership and management views the team. If you remember during this time after, 93 was just sort of a blip on the radar. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. From 84 to 2000, Phillies only had 3 seasons over 500 or better. So this happened to be just like an anomaly blip on the radar. But ownership sees how much the team and the city got behind this team and is willing to spend some money. They're like, okay, we're not going to consider ourselves a small market club, even though we're in the 4th or 5th largest market in the league. So how does it play out for the Phils? Well, the Macho Row guys, those careers, Kruk, Dalton, Dykstra, they all sort of play out the same. Just kind of get older. They had their run, but doesn't leave the team in as bad a position because it changes the luck of the team. Obviously, you're World Series champions. You have a lot of potential. So they start building around. And essentially, the Phillies become perennial contenders because of the advent of the wild card. When Scott Rowland gets here, instead of being pissed off and miserable at the lack of spending, he sees what winning in the city does for a team. He sees that management is willing to kind of build from within and get the right guys in place. So he ends up staying. He doesn't force the trade to the Cardinals and ends up being the starting third baseman then on the 2008 World Series winning team. So Dalton and Dykstra get statues when Citizens Bank Park opens up for being World Series heroes. Obviously, I think both of them are no-brainers. Dalton because he was the leader of that team, and Dykstra for winning World Series MVP. But the mindset of the fan base is probably the biggest change here. And that impacts the other teams. So there's not as much pressure on the Sixers and the Eagles and the Flyers to win because it had only been, instead of going 25-plus years without winning a championship, it's only been 10 years. So it's still relatively fresh. Fans are happier. We all saw how we were after the World Series in 2008, how we were after the Super Bowl, and how we are now. So there's not as much pressure on the team. Maybe there's no curse of Billy Penn after all. I don't know if I buy that. But that essentially is what AI says would have happened if Joe Carter didn't hit that home run and instead just flied out. Let me know what you think about that. I think, again, AI has really been coming in with some very believable and realistic things because I think in that game, Fregosi probably would have gone with all his pitchers, including Curt Schilling. I think it's feasible that Lenny Dykstra leads off the game with a homer and then hits a clutch 3-run shot in the 7th. He would have been the MVP likely if they would have won that series anyway. But what do you think? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line, the Discord channel, all my social media. Let's talk 93 Phillies.